My name is Jean DeVenny, and I prefer the pronouns she and her. I am this morning's worship associate. I volunteered to do this because it is such a joy to be up here in this position, seeing all your joyful faces. Thank you for being here. And a shout out to those online, hi up there, via the Zoom platform. The worship team reads your chat comments, they value your input, and are so glad that you are here today. So light your chalice at home and settle in with us. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever your image of the holy, we are glad we are together. Orders of service are available online or via the QR codes, like the one back there on that door, on walls around the building. And the greeters can give you a large print copy on paper of the order of service if you prefer. Just flag them down. I want to remind you to stay after the service for the board's second quarterly report to the congregation and listening circle. We'll have childcare for the littles, and there'll be cake for everyone. So those of you at home will have to provide your own cake, but please stay online after the service to hear the board's report and to give your input. We also have pledge envelopes, you'll see a table over here, with your name on them. So look for that. And if you're not a member yet, we have some blank pledge envelopes for you as well, so you can pick them up today. This church is so active. We have so many things going on, and it's just too much to announce it all. So please look at the weekly connections. It has all our upcoming events and announcements. It's delivered to you directly through your email, and you can sign up to receive it at a table in the hallway. So now, let us enter our worship time by lighting the chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. And today, Phil Stevens, who last lit a chalice when he was about 10 years old, he's a lifetime UU last year, right? While I speak these words by Sarah Eileen Lawal. Out of the flames of fear, we rise with courage of our deepest convictions to stand for justice, inclusion, and peace. Out of the flames of scrutiny, we rise to proclaim our faith with hope to heal a fractured and a hurting world. Out of the flames of doubt, we rise to embrace the mystery, wonder, and awe of all there is and all that is yet to be. Out of the flames of hate, we rise with the force of love, love that celebrates our shared humanity. Out of the flames, we rise. And now let's say together the words of our mission, which affirm our shared purpose. Empowered by love, we transform ourselves and serve our world.
Hi, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Phyllis Klein, and I use the pronouns she and her. I'm a silver-haired gal, older now, although Sue Craig called me a young'un the other day. Thank you. I've been asked to speak to you today from the heart about, you guessed it, the pledge drive. This year, Rev. Jan Izzy and Phyllis O'Neill asked me to help with the annual pledge drive. That works well for me because volunteering to help the church is a big part of how I give. Giving and service was instilled in me by my parents. They were scout leaders and volunteered on Sundays at the Catholic Church where I went to elementary school. The only thing I knew about the church's finances was watching the basket get passed every Sunday, like we do here. I honestly never thought about how the church paid their bills. And I stopped going to church after high school, so I never knew anything about pledging. I remember one time my friend asked me for advice and help with her budget. She was a single woman trying to buy a house of her own. And I noticed that she gave 10% of her income to the church. And I thought, wow, that's crazy. Why would she give so much of her money to the church? But then I started to come to the UUCE when I retired and moved to Eugene about 5 years ago. I'd heard about the Unitarian Universalist church when I lived in Portland, but I never had time to go. I did find time to come to this UU church, and I'm so glad I did. I've never felt so welcomed, so accepted by so many kind and generous people. Indeed. And now I feel so involved. Actually, I've been involved quite a bit lately in the past few months. But I promise I'm taking a vacation next week, actually. But no, seriously, I have found community here. I'm going to pause on that word for a minute because it's so important. I found a loving community here. And in relation to the pledge drive, how can I not want to invest in that? I've watched as this community takes care of each other. Just recently, as one of our members passed away, the amount of love and care that was shown. Or when someone needs their furniture moved. The UU Share email is a daily reminder of our community. And Cozy Soup Night. I could go on and on. I mean, that's worth investing in. And I should know, I'm an accountant type after all. And on that note, I've looked at the church's financial situation, and they really do need our help to keep this community, as we know, moving forward. That's why I'm going to give $5 more a month starting July 1, because that's when this pledge drive takes effect. I mean, that's like one less small eats breakfast burrito with sausage at Burrito Boy a month. It's only $60 more a year, but every little bit matters. Honestly, if you can give $1 a month or $2, that's enough. It matters. My bottom line after experiencing this community for only 4 years is that I've found a community that has love at its center. And how can I not invest in love? Because in the end, love is what holds us together. So now, before I step down, I do get to share our pledge drive totals as of yesterday's wonderful events. We had the happy hour and we had the Sweethearts Ball. And yes, drum roll please. $161,904. After 1 week, we're a third. Yay! Thank you so much.
Thank you, Phyllis. What great news and what a great from the heart. 161,000 already, just after 1 week. The pledge drive closes on March the 31st. So our pledge drive runs from February to the end of March. You've got plenty of time, and make sure to pick up your envelopes over there. I know this is kind of confusing, like why are we starting our pledge drive now when this all doesn't start until July 1st? Well, July 1st is the start of our new fiscal year, and it takes a long time to run this drive and then put together a budget and, you know, put together all the numbers. And so that's why we're talking about the pledge drive right now, even though our year doesn't start until July 1st. So there's other confusion around, like today's board financial update. People are a little bit confused about that as well. Like, does that board financial update today have anything to do with a pledge drive? No, they're two totally different things. The reason that the board is coming to you on a quarterly basis is because this board is really invested in being transparent and open and communicating a lot with its members. And so they're just here to give you the quarterly update on how we're doing. And so I hope all of you will just stay put right after the service ends for this financial update. Thank you for taking part in that and taking part in the refreshments that will be here. And one more announcement while we're doing announcements. I want to invite all of you to skip school and play hooky next Monday, the 19th, because that is the rescheduled MLK March. The NAA, yes, so we had the big ice storm that canceled that march, and so the NAACP has rescheduled that for Monday, February 19th, 9 a.m. at Autzen Stadium. Look for our yellow shirts. We'll all be there. Good morning, everyone. Good Sunday morning. My name is Jen Youngsun, and I am the minister that serves this beautiful congregation. I use the pronouns she and her, and today I'm wearing my rainbow stole and a black outfit. Happy Lunar New Year, friends. This is the year of the dragon. This is my year. Is anybody else a dragon? Yes, yes. This is our year. Today we continue the conversation that we started last week on the persistence of racism. We heard the choir sing Good Trouble, written as a tribute to John Lewis, and we remembered his words in the year 2020, shortly before his death. He said, "People are waking up to see injustice in ways that they had not been able to see it before, and this gave him great hope." I know it's not easy these days to keep the flame of hope burning, and yet this is exactly what we are called to do as a people of faith. Because we know that not every soul has the option of giving up hope. We know that not every body has the option of disengaging from uncomfortable emotions or shutting out painful truths. So come, let us rise with courage. Let us rise with love. Come, let us worship together. A few weeks ago, we did this exercise where I asked you, what do you need? And what do you have to offer? They're hanging up in the south hallway out there, and I've been quite moved to read through them. What I heard was a longing for one another. You know, we have these groups, and we have all these events and potluck dinners and everything, and we set up conversation tables back there during coffee hour, and we're still lonely, and we're still disconnected. I know this community can't be all things to all people, but darn it, I want to try. One of those cards out there says, "I need a witness to my joys and sorrows." Yes. Here is our time of witness. You can write your joys and sorrows in our book that lives over there in that corner. You can light a candle. You can place a stone in water. Let that be your prayer. Anything that you write in the book, I'll share from the pulpit. Zoom friends, if you want to write things in the chat, go ahead and I'll share that too. So today, joy for children and also sorrow for children. Many prayers for my daughter who is searching for a job and a new way of living. Sending love, to my brothers recently recovering from surgery. Peace to Bella, our 16-year-old kitty, as she crosses over to the summer land tomorrow morning. Oh, we're sorry to hear that. Holding this vast life with as much love as I can give and take in. So much grief, so much grace. And Stace says, if anyone likes walking black labs, Grandpa Benny will need dog walkers this spring when I have my 3rd knee replacement surgery. So Stace Ryerson, if you can help walk Grandpa Benny, she would appreciate that. And then Joy for new grandson Neff and his parents. Congratulations on a new grandbaby. Wonderful. And from our Zoom friends, let's see. Grateful for this way to be with you and keep germs at home. Grateful for daffodils beginning to bloom. Let's see. Just a lot of appreciation for being together. Sorrow for friends soon moving to Colorado. It is sad when friends move away. And for my young cousin struggling with his 2nd cancer bout. Hope for Mom's continued recovery from a recent stroke. Joy. Our joy has been watching our young daughter growing and finding love in learning. Brother David is gone now, and he sat with Dr. King and ate an evening meal at Ohio Northern University right before Dr. King's death. And continued sadness as we miss our beloved Kitty, Kitty Carlisle. Kitty's memorial service will be held here on Saturday, February the 24th at 2 p.m. In addition to these, I know that there are unspoken joys and sorrows that remain in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts. O Holy One, hear our prayers. Bring comfort to those who mourn. Bring calm peace to those who worry. Bring love to those who seek it. Amen. The poet Shalon Harkin writes, "Some days God brings me close. Some days God brings me close. And in those moments, all those places in me that have believed themselves to be unworthy must pause as love rushes in to fill all the gaps. I contemplate what a gift to be a participant in this world of texture and color and light. What an extraordinary gift to be able to love anything at all." Back in 2013, I preached my first Black Lives Matter sermon. And then right afterwards, an opinion piece was printed in the local newspaper entitled, "Extremism Doesn't Suit Unitarians." The anonymous writer said, "All lives matter, regardless of skin color, uniforms, preferences, or other trivial differences between us." It's tragic that we would have to witness the deaths of Michael Brown, Eric Gardner, Freddie Gray, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, and hundreds of others before the masses of Americans finally understood that there is a difference. In the last decade, more people have taken workshops, read books, and joined groups like Surge, standing up for racial justice. And institutions all around the country are now willing to peel back the layers of history to find their own untold stories. That includes our own churches, like the oldest ones in New England with ties to the slave trade, and the ones that moved out of the city following white flight into the suburbs. And then the newer congregations that were willing to start looking at the way they do church through a justice perspective. In 2017, the governing board of the Unitarian Universalist Association, the UUA, made a bold decision to analyze their own patterns of structural racism and to make recommendations for systemic change. Now, we had been doing anti-racism work for decades by that point, but this most recent move feels like a tipping point to me. I feel very, very hopeful. And even though I don't agree with everything the UUA does, I do believe that we're headed in the right direction. I'm also not surprised that there has been pushback. Not all UUs join me in my hopeful optimism. In December, the Financial Times published an article entitled, "Culture Wars Dividing America's Most Liberal Church." Yep, that's us. And yep, there has been division. Just like the Methodists and the Quakers and the Episcopalians who divided over same-sex marriage and queer clergy, the UUs are dividing. In fact, there's a brand new startup organization called the North American Unitarian Association. Now, while most UUs are working to ground our actions in an ethic of love, in a theology of love, some are saying, love is weak, and we need to ground our actions in the democratic process. And while most UUs are working to center the voices and experiences of people who have been historically ignored, some are saying we are losing our values of freedom, reason, and tolerance. But I don't think we are. We're not losing those values. We're just learning from history. We're learning from our past mistakes. And we are becoming people whose life experiences are not necessarily that of the cis, white, middle-class, college-educated person. You know, I think it's okay for people to leave sometimes. I do. I think it's okay for people to leave and create something for themselves. I think it's important for people to be able to freely associate with whomever they want. As for me, I'm going to stay put. I'm going to stay here, and I am going to remain hopeful. But you know, this wasn't always the case. I've thought about leaving the UU Church many times in my life. The first time I thought about leaving was 1999 or 2000, somewhere around there, when I read the book by Mark Morrison Reed called Black Pioneers in a White Denomination, describing what it was like for him doing research for this book. Reverend Mark Morrison Reed writes, "Outside, the gray neo-Gothic building that houses Meadville Lombard Theological School loomed large, dark, silent, and ghostly, except for the light that shone from the window in the basement. On their way home, my friends expected to see that light. They assumed I was studying. What they didn't know was that on some nights, I simply buried my head in my arms and wept as the stories unfolded. I couldn't believe the stories the documents revealed. I couldn't understand how our religious movement could have done such things. I couldn't even think about it. All I could do was curse and cry. The pain I felt for Ethelred Brown was a pain I would feel for others before finally realizing it was mine as well. Ethelred Brown was born in Jamaica in 1875 and dreamed of starting a Unitarian church in his homeland. He left his family to attend Meadville in Chicago, which remains to this day one of our UU seminaries. Those years were not easy for Reverend Brown. He missed his family. Money was a constant worry for him, and no one really wanted him there. He wrote these words about his experience. President Southworth of Meadville Theological School informed me that the school did not conduct a correspondence course, and therefore I would have to come to Meadville. And that as there was no Unitarian church in America for colored people, and that as white Unitarians required a white minister, he was unable to predict what my future would be at the conclusion of my training. He persisted and persevered, and for many years, Brown tried to build up a Unitarian congregation in Jamaica, but received little support from the American Unitarians. Finally, he was forced to give up the mission in 1920, and then Brown and his family moved to Harlem during those incredible years of its Renaissance, and he started the Harlem Unitarian Church. Despite his exceptional public ministry and support from many distinguished leaders from that time, little assistance came from his fellow Unitarians. And so the Harlem congregation closed after the death of Reverend Brown in 1956. Between 1889 and 1993, a period of over 100 years, only 23 Black men and women were fellowshipped as Unitarians or Universalists. And even if they were fellowshipped, it was still very, very difficult to find a pulpit from which to preach or a congregation to lead. There were other moments in my life that made me wonder what I was doing in this faith. Like when I found this quote from our esteemed abolitionist ancestor, Theodore Parker. He wrote, "Any Anglo-Saxon with common sense does not like this Africanization of America. He wishes the superior race to multiply rather than the inferior." And then this piece of writing from William Ellery Channing, the first to formally define Unitarianism in America. He wrote, "I should expect from the African race, if civilized, less energy, less courage, less intellectual originality than in our race. There is no reason for holding such a race in chains. They need no chains to make them harmless." And then there were my years on the board of the Thomas Jefferson District. Those years really tested me. At our public meetings about changing the name of the district, we argued that it didn't make any sense to use the name of a man who was, one, not a Unitarian, not a Universalist, and two, owned slaves and sexually assaulted at least one of them. I wish we didn't have to argue about this for years and years. I wish we could have just believed our Black UUs all over the South when they said, "The use of this name hurts me." Why wasn't that enough? Unitarian Universalism is not an inherently white denomination. Throughout our history, there were so many opportunities to be more courageous, to make more room, to be more trusting, to be willing to believe someone else's truth. And today, right now, right here, we have the opportunity to be more courageous and to make more room and to be more willing to trust and to be willing to believe someone else's truth. In a few weeks, Ryan is going to lead a service about the changes, the big, big changes that we are being asked to vote on in June at the General Assembly of the Unitarian Universalists. I don't know how that meeting is going to go, but we are going to prepare ourselves this spring for that meeting. You know, people say that it's hard to talk about racism, especially at a heart level. So instead, we talk about the terrible things that the Proud Boys are doing, or the attacks on Black history being taught in the schools, or the latest racist rhetoric from the presidential candidates. I mean, on that level, we could talk for days and days, right? But on a heart level, it's more challenging. But if we avoid that heart-level conversation, all we're doing is just pushing away the uncomfortable feelings. Buddhist Joanna Macy teaches us that the refusal to feel takes a very heavy toll. It impoverishes our emotional and sensory life. It depletes our resilience and our imagination. And in today's world, with everything that's happening, we need those resources now more than ever: resilience and imagination. So this week, Jean and I started talking about our early experiences with race. I tell you, it was a moving time being with Eugene. It was a revealing conversation that sparked memories that I had not thought of in a long time. I remembered some other stories that I'm going to have to share with you. It reminded me of how important self-compassion is to inner transformation and growth. You know, in the early days of UU anti-racism training, there was so much blaming and shaming going on. There was a lot of guilt embedded in that curriculum and program. But let me ask you, when has guilt and shame ever inspired creative transformation? Really? All it does is make us feel small. But love, compassion, insight into our inherent interdependence, now there is energy that allows us to rise with courage. My friends, we are rising with courage. Friends, we are rising with love. May this always be true. Amen, and blessed be. Together, we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Okay, I'm not going to give you a go forth because I don't want you to go forth. If you need to take a quick break, do so, but come right back here. Zoom friends, stay on this channel. Okay. We'll be starting in a few minutes.